colourful class, I must say. Namaskar. Angikam bhuvanam yasya vachikam sarva vangmayam aharyam chandra taradi tam namo satvikam shivam Mushikavahana Modakahasta Chamarakarna Vilambita Sutra Vamana Rupa Maheshwara Putra Vigna Vinayaka Pada Namaste Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Come. So, we have been discussing the Margam at length, and now we've almost come to the last format, and which is, I think, to a layman the most endearing format. For somebody who doesn't understand dance, they really remember the Tillana somehow. This has got a certain lilt to it, and a certain, I would say, not too much of an intellectual engagement in it, because you don't have to really think what's the story behind it or what's the theme behind it. It's just a Nritta piece, which also, because it's done in the end, I think people will walk out humming the Tillana or taking it back with them. Earlier, I think the Tillanas that we are normally used to listening have been extremely simple Tillanas for Bharatanatyam, written by gurus or the Tanjavur quartet specifically for dance. So, obviously, the matching of the Adavus, the way the Anupallavi and the Charanam are structured, are very much in the dance pattern, the Adavu pattern. So, it's easier to either do the same patterns, or even if you do counter, little bit of counter here, there, and you're able to kind of beautifully structure it. And there was a structure to it. Everybody would do a pancha jati, one by one the jatis would be delineated, and go on to the Anupallavi and do the finishing and the rounding off with the Sahitya and the Charanam. So, that was the basic structure. Even in that, the use of the Adavus, I remember in my earlier Tillanas what that one learnt, even the jatis were shown as jatis only. If you did a takita, you did a takita like this. You need not, sometimes you didn't even go into Adavu delineation of it. You just held the, so I guess somewhere they let the music take over, and kept the Tillana as simple as possible. But today I think it's become a vehicle to explore a lot of complex patterns as well, and it's become racier, faster in a sense. Remember, the first Tillana I had learnt was in Kapi Ragam. Deem nadri deem, deem tanana tadaratani udana deem, deem tanana deem, nadri deem, deem tanana tadaratani udana deem, deem tanana deem. This is it,
You have to teach us this Tillana.
Very, very simple, and maybe today you do it, you will look like one museum piece doing something very old. But this is how Tillanas were. And today you see, takata junudim tata junudim tana dirana, 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 takata junudim. See the difference. It's fast, it's racy, it's in lesser known ragas.
Musically complex also.
Musically complex, is not written for dance. See, these are all written by musicians to either play in an instrument or to sing. So, obviously the intention is very different. There it is written for dance. So obviously, those pauses and not too much of, see, you leave the lines simple so that you can fill in and filigree the work. If it's already filigreed, what more can you put in it? Which I always say even for the difference between a Padam and a Gita Govinda Ashtapati. Everything is stated in the Ashtapati, and in a Padam it's very suggestive. The line is open-ended. You fill in your ideas into it, So hence the same way the Tillana earlier used to be left to the dancer to fill in, while here there's already musical ideas and phrases fitted in, and then over that what you do, you have to think very differently then. I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's a change that one has to be aware of. So when many of the gurus say, oh, now people don't follow the same Panchanada, Panchajati, Korvai style, they don't follow it simply because sometimes it doesn't sit on the Tillana also. That reposeful tak might not even sit in a modern Tillana, So I feel changes are also because of the change in the musical structure of the composition. And many times Tillana is also used when you are dancing with another style. For example, you're trying to draw a parallel between a Kathak recital, and many of you have also experimented like that with other dancers, where a Tarana is compared to a Tillana and you draw somewhere a comparison between the two and you try and work out something which works for both styles. So many of these things are also happening. So one has to see all this in context and not just make statements just like that. So changes are inevitable, and changes are also due to certain reasons. So we have to think how Korvais can be made. Also Tillana is now today coming at the end of a recital which is already long, and people don't want to really take it to 15 minutes or 14-15. They want to say what they have to say crisply, precisely in a short Tillana for about 8 to 10 minutes and wind up the program. So also the length of recitals has also shrunk in a sense, because of which I think the Tillana is, unless you do just the Tillana with other pieces, that happens a lot. So maybe you need to have two options, where one, you keep an elongated Tillana, and sometimes you can cut certain Korvais and still make it look complete in itself, where you have to do it short. So you must have maybe two versions of Tillanas, and so I think today what we see is not specific Korvais dedicated to specific gatis or jatis, but nice Korvais which have good arithmetic, So I think we can take an example of two things in a Tillana which are most important. One is the Meyyadavu. Now the Meyyadavu has also reinvented itself in a different way, in the sense that again paucity of time, so many people do away with the Meyyadavu completely and straight on go to the Korvais. But I think for a reference point, somebody wants to experiment with the Meyyadavu, why not? One must also kind of see the possibilities in a Meyyadavu, where again body preparedness, grace, beauty, look, all this is kind of brought out very beautifully in a Meyyadavu. So I wouldn't want to completely give up a Meyyadavu, maybe not do it before every Korvai, but at least show the possibility in a Meyyadavu, maybe one or two Korvais at least, before one or two Korvais you do a Meyyadavu. So let's try and do one traditional Meyyadavu which we have, and one Meyyadavu which maybe we improvise and do. So one traditional Meyyadavu is the one that we do, have been doing for many Tillanas, in many of the Gharanas also do this. Maybe the emphasis might be different or the routing might be different, but by and large it's one Meyyadavu which everybody does. We'll take the Hindolam Tillana of Dandai the Panipillai, which is again written for dance. So Deem ta na 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 dim 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 tadirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana dim. This is the basic Tillana. So supposing we were to do the dim ta na 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 dim 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 tadirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana. The traditional Mayadavu, stretch forward and to bring the back the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dim ta na 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 dim 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 tadirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana dim ta na 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 dim 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 tadirana Tilla. You see the connection. Na. Correctly na you reach here. You can't do, supposing you do the same Mayadavu for a contemporary Tillana, you won't get these points.
Which match with the
See here the na is a point exactly where your hand comes here. Na Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana. See the beauty is because of the link. You know. Supposing taka tajunu dim ta tajunu dim ta na dira na na kahan aayega dirana there is no point, it's full of words. So if you do dim ta na na na, it's giving you so much a reposeful thing of the hand coming. Maybe that's why Mayadavu have done away with. Mayadavu don't sit in with the Tillana, the contemporary Tillana or a modern musical Tillana which we have.
The other thing is that because we are doing Tillanas in such in short performances as standalone pieces, so we're constantly only trying to maybe dazzle. Because many Adavus are so reposeful and so slow and they are done in very
Quite true. Quite possible, because if it's a standalone, you just want those 10 minutes to really show your dexterity in terms of your stamina, in terms of your speed, jumps, leaps and jumps and etc. So I guess could be a very strong reason as to why, because see, if you were to do it after a Varnam and come to the Tillana, you might not have the stamina to do this kind of choreography which is done on a standalone. So when you progress in a margam, there is a progression physically also, stamina distribution also, very beautifully done. So but here when you jump all that, obviously then it becomes a different approach. So maybe also teachers think that if it's a standalone Tillana, why not push in a lot of movements so that it becomes a very powerful tool for pure dance. So anyway, we can't lose track of the possibility of the reposefulness of a Tillana also. So whether we are doing this or we are doing this movement, but I am trying to say that how musically it sits on an old Tillana, on Tillana meant for dance. So the first one is that. Second movement, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dim ta na 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 dim 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana dim ta na 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 dim 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana dim ta na 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 dim 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana dim ta na 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 dim 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana. See how it sits. It sits so perfectly that you don't have to really bother about whether you're going to be able to keep time, whether it could just flows naturally and it goes. So taking from the old May Adavus. We just did one for this Hindolam Tillana, which we can do. One of you can do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana. Okay, we try the Mayadu which you do for the Indolam. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam ta na dirana. So it just normally come. We must also understand what a May Adavu really is. May Adavu is normally done in either 2 speeds or 3 speeds. Normally done 2 speeds ideally. It's a slow use of how well the body can kind of unfold in a graceful, aesthetic, with the music just flowing, you know, and yet giving some points in the Tillana where there are punch points, you know. Na, that na was a punch point. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana. Na becomes a point where, so those kinds of punch points you just show. I think the community or the gurus and the dancers, Devadasis, they did a lot of very graceful movements. You know, today when you moved, it's become more of a show of strength. I remember my teacher doing a lot of this movement, you know, just this and this. It was just one of the May Adavus, you know, with very small movements of the feet, but this angle, look, there was a lot of emphasis on look, for example, you know, even when you walked back, the look was very important. It's not today the way you go back like this. I see many like military walk, you know, not like that, just marking time. Even that was an aesthetic expression, you know, of the dancer. So I think this also brought in that element in the dance of the grace, the femininity of the dance. So even movements like this, which they would do in the Tillana, you know, movements like this, which very slow movements, which I think today it is difficult to see. There's firstly large spaces, the smaller movements are also lost. So people want larger movements, so the feeling of reaching out to the audience, that's definitely there. So this is to be just a jump. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana. Aramandi samapada. Aramandi samapada. A very simple thing. You want to try out that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem ta-na-na-na, dim-dim-dim, ta-di-ra-na. Tillana ta-jam, jam, ta-na-di-ra-na-dim, ta-na-na-na, dim-dim-dim, ta-di-ra-na. Tillana ta-jam, jam, ta-na-di-ra-na-dim, ta-na-na-na, dim-dim-dim, ta-di-ra-na. Tillana ta-jam, jam, ta-na-di-ra-na. See, so also this movement used to be used a lot. Dim, ta, na, 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 even to go back, which you sitting, aramandi. Dim, ta, na, 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 dim, 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 ta, di, ra. Very stylized movements, which you see in very few schools, maybe a little bit of Kalakshetra people doing this. Don't see it very much in the other schools where this is seen. So some of these Adavus, I think we can also now revisit and see how we can kind of give it a fresh lease of life in a sense, because see, nothing is new at the end of the day. It's just creating a freshness in what you already know. Somebody must have done it somewhere before you. It's not as though I'm claiming that this is mine or this is what I have done. So I think it's just reworking things out for yourself. Now we come to the Korvai.
I have one question
Yes.
about the main Adavus. In the Jatiswaram, all the connecting Adavus that we do, these ones and the rounded
Yes.
ones, would those Adavus also be considered as main Adavus?
No, I don't think so, because I think firstly the musical format and the conditioning is such that we are used to Jatiswaram always having this as the movement, and that's been convention. Certain things are because also of convention, and you've been seeing it for so long that you classify it because that's the way we've been taught and that's the way we've been watching dance, the format wise, this is how it is. But the Mayadava really is to also this, I told you, these punch points, Dim, ta, na, 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 dim, 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 ta, di, ra, na. It's giving you punch points. Here you don't normally sa, sa, ni, pa, ma, pa, ga, ma, re, sa. No punch point. Ni, sa, re, ga, ma, da, ni. Just a flowing movement in that sense. It's not so much definiteness that you show. Here there is definitely a definiteness that you bring into the Mayadavas, where there are definite points where you mark that, and show. So I guess that would be the difference between that way. If you see any slow movement is pretty much a slow movement and a fast movement. So it's not as though, but the categorization happens because this is used in this format, that is used in that format. So obviously they are classified differently as different movements. And as I told you, this movement is not used in anything else, strangely. So and where nobody has told us not to use those movements anywhere else. Nobody has told us that this movement can't be used anywhere. So I guess it's just the conditioning that we keep those separately for the Jatiswaram and we don't use it anywhere else. There is no hard and fast rule that we can't use it in any other context, in any other way. So let's do the Panchanada. Normally earlier, as my gurus, Dandayatha Pandipillai used to, or Dakshinamurti sir used to teach, they used to just do 4 Sankirnam, 4 Mishram, 4 Khandam, 4 Tisram. That finishes the Tala cycle. Then you do the Chadusra 1 Avartanam, and then you do one Avartanam, you have all the 5 coming. Ta, di, ta, all 5 jatis. So you round it off. This is the way each used to go, So this is to be the Panchanada final Korvai which we used to do. But as we started thinking and working, we thought choreographically doing all 4 together, then it becomes very obvious that here I come with my Panchanada and here is 4, here is a. So we tried to camouflage it and do it in a different way, in the Kannada, in the Hindolam Tillana as the last Korvai, Panchanada Korvai, where we treated it 2 of one jati, then another 2 of another jati, then another 2. So we kept the order very for the audience to figure it out for themselves. So one of you can do that Korvai. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana. So you see how nobody could tell what was happening, but it's of all 4 have come in all 4 jatis, and it's all been done according to, and nowhere was it clashing with the music. So that's the other thing. So I guess this is what then becomes the kind of work that you, the approach that you have to a Panchanada Korvai, where all 5 jatis come, and in the end there is a summing up by doing all 5 in one Avartanam. So I think that one Avartanam thing is amazing. When I first heard it, I said, wow, all 5 with just one gap each. It's so simple, and you kick yourself, like, why didn't you think of it before? I said, oh my God, let's just do that. Takka dimmi, takkita, takka dimmi, takkita, takka takkita, takka dimmi, takka takkita ta. All 5 come. The order is Chadusram, Tisram, Mishram, Khandam, Sankit. 1 gap each. And arithmetically it's absolutely correct. Batao, grammar batao uska. 4 plus 3?
4 plus 3 is the gap.
No, I'll first do the full.
4 plus 3 is 7 plus 7, 14 plus 5, 19 plus 9, 28 plus 1 gap.
How many gaps?
4 gaps. Because the last one doesn't have a gap.
So 32. Correct? Yes. Divisible by 4. So that's how it is. And this is a very useful tool, because you can use it in many places in very, very different ways. So can we do that once? 1, 2, 3, 4. Takka dimmi, takkita, takka dimmi, takkita, takka takkita, takka dimmi, takka takkita ta. So when you do it to the Tillana, it will become 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem ta na 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 deem 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 ta dirana Tillana ta jam jam ta na dirana deem. So now we'll repeat this Korvai and we'll uncover the jatis. So you can say the jatis as she is doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's okay. Chadusram is done. Then start from the 1, 2, 3, 4. Deem a na 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 deem 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 ta dirana takka dimme takkita takka takkita takka dimmi takka takkita takka dimmi takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta 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 takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta tay. Again talam डाल के 1 2 3 4 takka takkitta takka dimmi takka takkitta takka dimmi takka takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta 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 takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta tam. क्या हुआ? तालम तो जीरो हो गया तुम लोगों का. बैठो तालम डालो उसमें. 1 2 3 4 takka dimmi takka takka dimmi takka takkitta takka dimmi takka dimmi. नहीं नहीं takka takkitta साथ में आ रहा है दो. नहीं first is that's okay. First is takka dimmi takka takkitta, then takka takkitta takka takkitta. ये है संकीर्णम, then 2 खंडम, then 1 संकीर्णम, 2 खंडम, then 2 संकीर्णम, then 2 मिश्रम्स, and then takkitta 4 takkitta, and then last में 2 मिश्रम्स through मिश्रम्स. That's the order. So 1 2 3 4 takka dimmi takka takkitta takka takkitta takka takkitta takka dimmi takka takkitta takka takkitta takka takkitta takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takka takkitta takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta 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 takka dimmi takkitta takka dimmi takkitta ta. ठीक है. Then dim ta na 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 चतुस्रम फुल आवर्तनम. Then तालम डालो 1 2 3 4 dim ta na 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 dim 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 ta di jana tillana ta jam jam ta na de ta na dim. Correct? आ गया? चलो. Can we do the namaskar? Yeah.
Now that the Tillanas have been composed by musicians, and sometimes I feel the music is overpowering the.
We will talk about this in the next class.